Record to the group. Okay, so welcome everybody. Welcome back from from the break. So we've not done so much, and we've just been able to arrange, put the main content in a container, and then place it side by side. And then we have our free consultation done. We still have our footer items at this other part, which we'll do um, at the later end of this demo. So for now, let me just quickly do a run through. Um, so what we did on um, this main section, so we had to place what we have, that's all the old content in a container, and then we have the container class this way, and then we also styled our main content div, which is this, and gave it display of flex. So this display of flex is by default flex. If I do flex direction, so it's default row. Default flex direction is row. So I can decide not to add this and just add it, but just to let you know that behind the scene, once you do display flex, the default direction is row. So this was how it was before. Without display of flex, it's column. I think you have four. So if I save and refresh, so this is what we would have, but this is what we want to have. Please, just a minute, please. Just a minute. Okay. Sorry for that break. We have display flex direction row, and once I save, okay, I have it saved already, and refresh. So we have it this way. So currently I'm not using live server, all because I don't I don't want like to add more overhead to what we already have. But I know it's not live server that happened previously. Okay, so the next thing is I said I want to reduce the size of our image. And how do I target it? IMG, oh sorry, width. Let me give it something like 450 or 350 pixels. Please feel free to interject at any point. If I refresh now, I guess the image should be smaller, good, which is closer to what we have. It's a little small, so let's make it 400 and save. Okay, we see that this is sitting side by side. But what we want to achieve, let me inspect also. We want to create a space in between it. So if you look at it, uh, this is main. So I'll be inspecting it again. This is main. This is container. You can see the container, which is the blue part from the image to the end of the text. Then we have the main content. We have our image. Then we have the right div. So the next thing we'll be styling is the div. So I mean this div here. So let me say text content. Let me just name it, give it a class name of text content. So you can give it any name you like, but ensure that the name you are giving is related to what you are doing. So that's a rule of thumb. I want to make this main content 100% with. So I guess you can be asking me, you might need to ask why I'm doing what I'm doing. So in software engineering, why is more important than just looking at what I'm doing. You need to know why I'm doing this. Like, why am I taking this step? So there's another property we had, justify content So we want a space between, space in between, and then we save. So might not see much space. That's when I add padding to it, we'll see that. So let me make this one 350. I think we'll see it now. Let me refresh. Okay, still not seeing it. This is taking the entire width. Okay, we'll fix that. What else? Okay, to drop this, we'll target the um, main dot action button. Sorry, action button. Then there are many ways to style the button. So, but first, let's inspect. So the first thing is to inspect. It gives us idea of what is going on. So this is the action button that is targeted here. Is within the container. That is why it's not floating out, like it's not taking the entire width. So it's within the container. This action button. So one thing we can do is to tell this action button to force anything inside of it to the center. So we'll do there are several ways to do it, but the easiest way is to do text align center. So if I do text align center, this would work. Have I saved? So let me save, then refresh. So we have our button at the center. But if you look at our design, we have space to the top, space to the right, and then space between this image. And one thing that can come in handy for us is to use our margin and padding. I don't know if we've learned about margin and padding, so but I'll be making use of it. Yeah. So what we are looking, the first question we ask ourselves, where do we apply our margin? Like where do you apply padding to? So first, we know that all of this, we know that all of this is inside a container. And then there's space to the top, and then there's space to the bottom. So we can now do on our main, on this main, so we'll move to the top and style main, and then give it padding top, let's say 50 pixels, then padding bottom, 50 pixels. Once I do this and then refresh, so we see that space. So we are using, and I was expecting this question, why using padding and not margin? Somebody is asking if there will be a certificate at the end of this bootcamp. No, not really, not really. So there's no certificate at the end of the bootcamp. So literally, with software engineering, there is nobody cares about your certificate. So like I said, I've been working like this, like this is over 5 years now, and I've never showed my certificate or degree to nobody has asked me for my degree or oh, what you came out with and all of that. Nobody cares. Your employer does not care. So what they care about is, can you do this stuff? Like, can you write code? Um, so nobody cares about what you came out with or what course you studied. And that is a good side of software engineering. Um, so we've added space from top to bottom. And then the other part is the space in between. So let's quickly do that.
Hey, you're going to answer the question of why we're using padding, not margin.
Oh, good, good. Okay, good. Thank you for drawing me back. Okay. Ah, I want to give you a very, okay. The best way to explain it is when I do something like this. So you will see it in action. So if I give it a background color of, let me say, um, let me give it brown. So something that will be so obvious. And then because if it is white, we will not see like the difference. Now you can see the padding in place. I added padding. So let me do this. And so you can see this gray, not gray, like, is it amber or orange or so?
Yeah, I can see that.
So that is padding in place. So, and
Mm.
can see when I select main here, if you follow my pointer, you see main,
Yeah.
look at the style here, padding top, padding bottom, 50 pixels, like top and bottom. So the padding is the space within a container, like within a box.
Mm-hmm.
The padding, the space inside it. So imagine uh you bought how do I say this now? You bought like a phone or something, or you receive a package, that space, and like you bought a cake, like and then inside the cake, they place the cake in a squared box. So the space between where you have that cake and then the border, like the box, is the padding. So I will add margin to it now. So I will add margin of 100%, double the size of what we have here, and then you obviously see the difference for yourself. So thank God I've added space here. So within the same main main div, I will now add padding. Sorry, margin top. Now we'll make it 100. So you will see that it's different from margin. Like the margin is different from padding rather. Then margin bottom 100 pixels. So time of truth. But let me explain margin before showing you. So margin is the space outside the container, like from this box to the surrounding elements or any space around it. So it's taking space outside the box, while padding is space inside the box, like within the box and its container. So let me just, I think I've not saved. So let me save and then show us the moment of truth. So can you see this now? You see that
Yeah, yeah,
margin
yeah, I can see.
the element away from the other
From the
element, why the padding is within it. Trust me, this is a popular interview question. Like
yeah, sure.
they would your employer, because you cannot, it will give you like you will not be able to do your HTML very well if you cannot differentiate margin and padding. And there's a very thin line. Most people cannot separate it. They just use it anyhow. But there's a right use case. Like there's a best time to use margin, there's a best time to use padding. And sometimes you can use any both ways interchangeably. So there's a way I might use margin and padding even while working, but you need to know, once you know like how it works, you will be the one to figure out the best time to use margin and padding. So you see this space, even to the bottom, he pushed it away from the footer that we are here to do.
Yeah,
But if it is white, if you just use white without, and that is why I had to change the background. So we might not really see the implication like, oh, what's going on? But giving it
yeah,
a background color now reveals like, oh, this is what margin is, this is what padding is. So you play
right.
with it, like you just have to practice and then you'd be able to find the difference between and you'll be able to know, I think this is the best time to apply padding and margin. But this is
Mm.
what in a nutshell. So let me proceed. I will need to take this out and then take this out too. So let's return back to our original workflow. Let me refresh. Good. And then so we want to create space between these. Um, where are we? So this is main content. So I want to add space to the image. So I can just give it a, now for this image, because I'm targeting this image, I can't give the image a padding. So I'll just give margin to the right. So it will just push this text content to the right a little. So I can give it margin right. So there are shortcuts to this, but for the sake of our learning, I'm not using shortcuts. Like I'm not using shortcut at all. So I'm just using margin right, let's say 20 pixels, and then see it play out, refresh. So looking at the design, it is not as much as what we want. So I will add more. Um, I will add more. Let me say 50. So there's no one way of doing all of this. There are still other ways to go about it. So you see this, um, good. So we have this space in between the image and this. Now we are looking at this main container and then this action button. So I can decide to style the main content and give it a margin button or padding button, whichever way would work. So let me give it 50 pixels. So what am I doing? I'm trying to create space between this entire box and then the button. So now it's touching it and I don't want that. So 50 pixels. When I save, we move back, refresh. So we see that it's getting closer. Um, so I'll leave it like this for now, and then we'll do the footer session. So for the footer, first thing we want to take out is this list styles. We'll take them out first, and then we'll see this sitting side by side. So, and this is stacking on top of each other. So make them sit side by side. So the first thing we want to take out is these bullet points, and then make sure they sit side by side. And if I may ask, what do you think would help? Like, who can answer the question? Like, what will help with taking out these buttons and also making it sit side by side? So let's see. While I'm coding, who can do that? Like, who can answer the question? This is our footer session.
I think um that flex.
Yeah, make flex. We'll make it sit side by side. Like, that is a
Yeah,
good question. But if you don't want to use flex, what other thing can we use? For instance, we decide not to use flex.
like I think floating maybe.
Yeah, float does. So I will advise, please, never use float like while working. It cause most like the idea is this. When you are writing code as a developer, know that you are also writing for like for humans. It's somebody else that will read your code. So first, you don't want to use outdated coding pattern. So if we have or tools, if you have Flex, which is a modern tool that takes care of all this bottleneck, so please do away with float. Float left, float right. Yes, it works, but those were introduced at the early versions of CSS. So there are better versions like CSS Grid and CSS Flex, Flexbox. So please try to do away with all of that. Another way to do it is to use like display of inline style. Um, Either
Okay, like yeah, that's true.
you use inline. So flex would float will work, but please do away with it. It causes like it makes your code difficult to work with. If another engineer picks up your work, like the engineer will just be if I see float, like I'll just be shaking my head, and a whole lot of other engineers like, what kind of work is this person giving us? So you use modern tools. So that's a rule of thumb. So first thing is we want to place we can do without placing it in a container because um it's directly at the center. But since we've adopted like that pattern of placing our work in a container, so we also place this in a container. Yet though it might not reflect like the, with or without it, it will still work because the footer is not tied to the edge, like nothing is tied to the edge of. So let's assume that we have our footer, maybe the logo, some logo will be towards the right, and while some will be in the center, some content will be towards like the tail end. Then our container will be very important. But I think for this demo, let's do away with it because it's not you adopt what works for your project, the best workflow. So we are not adding container to this because there's no need for it. I don't know if that is clear. Like why I'm not adding container
Yeah,
to the thing. So I'm just going straight. um, to remove the first thing is let's take out. So we have our footer class and then footer. So we are taking out the UL. Inside the list size, and then we'll set it to none. So let's see if that will be. If it doesn't work, I will place it on the airlines. Oh, that works. Yuki. So sorry, I don't cram code. So I wasn't very sure. So I could have used airline too, but I wasn't very sure if that was that would give the results. But one thing I know is I can always refresh. Oh, both works. So either UL or LI works. So let's stick to LI. Setting this. I think this worked based on inheritance. The LI inherited this from the UL.
Yeah, that's true.
Then for the LI now, we want to, like I said, we could do this dot footer. So I'll show both approach to solving it. Then LI. We could do display of flex. No, if you are doing display of flex, it will be on the parent, not on the child. So, but for the child, we could do display um, inline block. We could do this, and I think that should work. So if I save, let's refresh. Yeah, we could do this. Another way to go about this, just for the sake of learning, is if I comment this out, we could also do on the parents. So please remember, if you've done flex, you will remember that flex just mere display. So before I save, so let me refresh this. So to take it back. So yeah. So I'm using the second method now. So yeah. So display of flex. So let me display flex and save. Remember by default, this is flex direction row. So see that there are many ways to go about it. So, and which is right. So there's nothing like, oh, if I'm reviewing a code, which we also do as part of our processes. So if I review, like I'm reviewing your code, Tosin, and I see you use this approach, and I'm reviewing
Okay.
Michael's code, and it does this approach. I won't say, oh no, Shade, you are wrong. Michael is right. No, you guys are both right. You just approached it in different ways. Like there's nothing like this one is
Okay.
a better way. So I just showed you two ways of going about it. So that doesn't mean that like the one that works best for you is fine. So I might decide to use flex. Bit is more popular and more common. Some other person might go this route. So the implication is that for every direction you take, there are some follow-up actions that will take that you must take. So if I'm doing this, I could, um, so if I'm doing this, I could add like justify, let me still comment this out. So I could add justify content center. So, and I save. So if I refresh, you see it has moved it to the center. So I will still show you how we'll do this without flex. So don't think like it must always be flex way, but flex will make your life flexible. Pardon me, it makes your life easier. I'm just using flexible, yeah. Makes a, and I think that's where they coined the flex word from. Like for it gives that flexibility, yeah. So justify center, and then I need to create that space in between. So I'm not doing this. And then I'll just add like padding between each of the elements. Let me say padding 10 pixels, and then we'll save. So we'll see the results here. Good. So with flex, you can see that it's more easier with flex. Now let's try without flex. So I'm commenting out these two lines of code. I'll still keep this and have this, and then save. So refresh. So we can see the padding is still needed, 10 pixels. Oh, my semicolon. So, but now it's not at the center. So what do we do? Without flex, I can tell the UL to place a text align center, and let's see how that works. So let me refresh. Good, bam. So you see that like the same thing with two different approach, which is totally correct. You guys get it now? So the other part will be the color.
Yes.
So the color of the background, which is blue. Okay. So for the sake of this, I'll just use footer. So I'll take it up because footer is the parent. So please, it's a good approach to start from the parent, to start styling from the parent. Background. So you can use background color and let's just name it blue, or you can just use background, whichever one would work. So, but I prefer using background color because it's more specific. Like somebody reading the code will just know that, oh, I'm trying to style the background color. It gives more meaning to what I'm doing than just leaving it as background. So let's start with background and then I save. So you can see this. So please always remember that when you're writing code, you're writing for humans, and we want to communicate the meaning, like the semantic meaning of what we are doing. So for that reason, I'm using background color. So if Michael tomorrow picks up this work, it won't struggle through like what I'm trying to do. He quickly knows that, oh, Lucky is trying to add a background color to the footer, and then this is what we have. So now I'm using background color and I've saved. So if I refresh, still the same thing. The next thing is the color is white, and then padding. I will add padding within the footer. So the color, I'll give the li. So I could do it anywhere. I could add color from here. So let me just name it white. And would see that the li will pick it because of the rule of inheritance. And I could also cut it from here. So let me cut first and save and take it back to the previous color. So I could also come to the li and add it, even to the ul, whichever place I put it. So this one now, I'm adding it directly to the element, and in which would still work. So I'm just showing you that there's no one approach. So don't watch this video and take it as the final solution. So you could code your own in a separate way, which is totally fine. Please, the important thing is you understanding why you are taking that approach is more important. So I'm showing you different rules. So there's inheritance rule that I just showed you now. Now, let me even show you something, a cascading rule of CSS. So I want to add a color and give it color red to the text. Now, I want to ask a question. Shade, what color do you think? Let me add another color, green. So what color do you think would be the color of, so I'm adding another color. I just want to add a dynamic, like some dynamism to this. So I'm giving the parent color brown. Good. So what do you think this brown is looking? Yeah. So what do you think will be the final color of the li? Now I've given this one brown. Let me look for a better color. Let me give it yellow. So which will be totally different. So what do you think will be the final color here?
I think it should be yellow.
Yellow. Okay. Michael, what do you think will be the final color? I'm sure you might not know because you've not taken CSS class, like you've not watched the CSS video. So Michael, are you there?
I'm with you.
So what do you think will be the final color? You think it will be yellow, white, green, or red?
I'm enjoying the class, but honestly, I don't know. So if I should pick anyone, I won't know my reason for picking any color.
Good. I don't know is a perfect answer. And for interviews, because I've attended a lot of interviews, So I don't know is even a safe answer. When you are not sure, it's better you say you don't know than you answer wrongly. Like it will mark you down. Like it's better, oh, sorry, I don't know, than I think you just guess an answer. So, but how good, you should have completed this, you should have watched the CSS part. You shouldn't have waited till it's just for the sake of knowledge seeking. So you could have even watched the video for the fun of it, so that like to grab the knowledge. You don't have to literally wait till when the class will start. Okay, so moment of truth. I think the answer should be green. I don't know, might be wrong. And I will explain why it's like that. So let's refresh and see. Oh, UP. I think the answer is green, but let's check. Let's check from our VS Code. Not VS Code. What's there? So you can see what is happening here. So, and I will explain why the answer is why it is green. So I never planned this before. So good. You see all the styles that I applied. You see the footer here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you see the white, the red, and the green. So what is happening in CSS? So there's a rule of inheritance where children, this is a child of UL. UL, oh, where's the footer? Okay, we're working with the footer. So the li you are seeing is a child of the UL tag, UL element. So the UL is a child of the footer div. So automatically, if there are no colors here stated, the li will inherit directly from the footer, which is
Right.
yellow. So, but because the li has its own colors, so this color overrule anything the parent has, any color the parent is offering. Now, if I change the color here and give this one like Bala blue, let me give it blue. Oh, sorry, I'm using Bala blue. So let me give it violet blue. So which is a off shade of this. And without this color, it will inherit the closest parent, not this one. So that is, I'm just using this event to explain inheritance. So with this knowledge, you'll be able to debug your CSS. So let me refresh. If you look at the color, so this our inspector here is telling us what is happening. So when you look at here, the footer, it's overruling footer, which is the yellow, meaning that yellow cannot be applied, but it can apply this because this is the closest parent, the closest color. So this li is inheriting from the UL and not from this. So the moment I comment out this, like I check it out, so it will pick yellow because yellow is the only color that is available to it. But once there's a color on the closest parent, the LIs will pick this one. And if there are colors on it, so I've commented out those ones, that's what I'm sure. So if I comment out this now and I save, there is a separate rule that is applied, that is going to apply here, that is showing green. So there's a separate rule, and the rule that applies here is the rule of is cascading cascading rule. Let me use that word. So because cascade means that from it's okay, I will explain it, but let's refresh. So this is a detour from what we have. You can see it's green. So what is happening here? It's this there's this cascading nature of CSS. What does cascading mean? It means it starts to read the styles from top to bottom. So it first checks this first color. It first applies white to it, and it discovers that, oh, there's another color attribute, red. Whoa, it applies red. It sees again, there's another color, it applies green. So what it means is when your browser, remember, it's your browser that reads your CSS file from top to bottom. So when your browser sees the same color with the same elements, having the same color but with different properties. So this is the property assigned to this color attribute. So it sees the same color. The next thing it does is the last one. So it reads from top to bottom. So the last one, which is the most recent, takes over, like takes the color of of what am I speaking? So that is the color that will be applied to the airline. I don't know if that suffice.
Yeah, it's very clear.
This you see is being asked during interview very well. Like they will place like scatter colors around, and then you'll be asked like, what do you think this element will pick? So you can see that while we are learning, I'm already giving you some interview tips ahead of time, what to watch out for. And okay, so this is that. So for the sake of this learning, we are taking this out. I just showed you guys all of this for illustration purpose. And then we are adding padding. So the padding we are going to add is to our footer. That will be top to bottom. We can add it to the airline, we can add it to the footer, whichever one works. So padding top, let's say 50 pixels, and then padding bottom. So please, if you have any question, ask. Please ask your question. So we have this. Oh, it's too much. Let's make it 40. But it doesn't matter though. It's just for illustration purpose. Okay. So let me do this. Let me make it 20, 20, 20. And I will give you guys an assignment for your personal learning. So we can see this space here. So
Yes.
it implies that the content of our page did not exhaust, like we didn't exhaust the full page, which is not a good practice. So the task I will give you guys is you need to go and find out how to keep the footer at the bottom. So it's very simple. It's a very simple task. So you can just do how to keep footer at the bottom of the page with CSS. Did you see? So,
Yes.
so look for it, like figure it out when you are doing your work. When you are submitting, please, you are still free to submit, though the class ends today. We are not kicking you out of the Slack channel, but you are free to um, submit. So the implication is when you are submitting, because I'll be looking out for this footer. So ensure that the footer is always at the bottom. At the bottom. One of the tasks that we'll give to those that will continue with us, you build a Google landing page ahead of time. So this is just like, so google.com. It's very simple, but trust me, you'll learn a whole lot. Sorry, it's dark because I'm using dark screen. You see all of this,
Yeah.
like part of what we built. Like when you join our paid class, this is like a popular problem that like is always been asked. And I tell you, this what you are seeing here is not beans. Like your CSS will be thorough when you end up building this. Like you'll be very comfortable. And I can spot a whole lot of errors. Like people will ignore. You see this Ede Yoruba, like people will forget like this thing exists. There's a whole lot of things that it takes care of. So, but I won't go into that details. You see all this inside the input, you see the input curved and all of that. So we'll be solving this, but we'll give this as our project to our students. So these are just some of the things you build when you finally sign up, like at the end of the day. Within your first month, yes, within the first month of your project, this part of the project you work on, and other projects too. Oh, okay. So I will not solve this. I will leave it to you guys to figure it out. So because I won't take away your learning. So if you look at it, we are not still done with our style. And the other part to it that you guys will do is to change the font. This is not our exact font. So you can see it's looking far from it. So, but I'll style this button. I'll leave it to you guys to use the main logo, um, and then change the font. Let the font look like it, and then this is um hyphen. So there are some things I will not complete. I'll just leave it this way so that I don't take away the learning from you guys. Um, So let me just start the button. I think that's the button. Then this service, yeah. Okay. So let me just quickly start the button. And then I'll do cleanup of this code.
Forgot something.
So
Oh.
button. So first, because the background is blue, background color blue, color blue, white. Oh, sorry. What am I doing? Color white. So FFF is same as white. I'll be interchanging them gradually. Blue, blue. The hexadecimal color rather. This also works. That works. So that. Please mute your mic, Michael. Michael.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, padding 10 pixels. So let's see it play out. We see that it's not still looking, it's looking close to it, but not like it yet. And then we have some outline. So we'll take out this outline and this border to give us something close. So first say border, none. It doesn't have any border. And let's see. Whoa, I think we are getting close. I think that is it. So you can see that the same button applied to both, the same style. Because if I had, yeah, so if I had targeted only, where's the button here? So if I had targeted like nav and add a nav before it, we'll see what's like nav and save. So let's see what's going to happen if I refresh. So we see that it's only this, like the style is only attached to this and not this. So there's a learning to that, what I just did, like this. So trying to, and what just happened is, what I just did here is, I'm saying that this style here should be applied to the button that is inside, to any button inside this nav.
In nav section.
Yeah, so that is what I just did. So now, where I said there are a lot of learning like from just what I just did, because what if I want like this button has a different kind of style, so I don't end up styling only button, because now it will be difficult for me to style the button separately. But now, if I do this, now how do you think, if I want to style this one separately, what do you think I would do? So
That's the footer.
perfect. No, it's not on the footer, it's on the main. So I'll now do,
Okay, so yeah.
and I'll do button. So with that, I can copy the same thing and give a different background color and say background green. So with that, we can style our button differently. Do you see? So, but for this, we are not doing that. So I just showed you for reference purpose. So you know how to select elements individually. So since we are the same button, we are doing this. So I do not want to start the learning. So I'll make this source code available. We can walk through it. I'm taking this one out. So this is one way of doing it. So let me leave this one here to show you different, like another way of styling, using display flex. Is there any question? So I said I was going to clean up. So one of the cleanup I wanted to do is this. So we have container repeating itself, and I did it deliberately. Put another container. So there's a rule in software engineering which is called dry. Just that, which is called dry. Dry. It means, sorry, let me put it in a comment. It means don't or don't. Who knows what dry means? Who knows what dry means? Don't repeat yourself.
I don't know. It's the first time I'm hearing it.
Oh. So there's this dry principle. You don't repeat yourself. You don't repeat. So yeah,
Mm.
we can optimize, like reduce our lack of code. Okay, so what can we do? So we repeated what is it called here? Um
Container.
which we shouldn't do, is not a good practice. Um so if you notice, we repeated background color. So we have this background color repeating itself. Um we have color white repeating itself. Yeah. So we have color white here too, color white here too. Um, one thing we can do is this. So we can do like blue BG, that is blue background, or blue BG color, but let me keep it simple. And then we'll do background color blue. So with this, anywhere we have background color blue, we can take it out. There are several styles. Some people might choose to use like use CSS variables, and then they will name a variable. Can I remember how to create CSS variable? Sorry, I can't remember. So, and there's nothing wrong when you can't remember. As software engineer, nobody expects you to cram anything. So I'll just do HTML, sorry, CSS variables. Like, it's as simple as that. And oh, and then I'll look through and try to implement it. So I'll check out the next function. Please, nobody expects you to cram anything. For instance, I can't even remember, trust me, I can't remember um um CSS variable. So, and if I check and I still, yeah, this is the syntax here, name and value. So I'll just copy it. Please, nobody expects you to cram anything. So let me do this var. So this is the syntax here. I'll move, you always declare it at the top of your page. So you do like a var, then the name. So I'll say, I can do this, BG blue. So Control V, then what would be there? I'll say blue. So let me see. Require variable name start with two dashes, optional fallback. Okay. So let's see how that would work. Let me see the implementation. So you can see how they used it. Oh, they used it on the root. Okay, use it on the root. So that's just, this is how we learn as engineers. So I'm just showing you guys practically that I don't know everything and it's allowed. Like, trust me, but I'll use it in practice now. Blue. I even picked up that AG blue and then blue. So is it a comma or dash here? And I'll give it blue and I close it. So with this now, I can now use it here. So anywhere I have this blue, let me take this one out. This is one approach I was going to show you guys, but let me take it out. So instead of having blue everywhere, I'll just add var, you can see, then blue. So with this footer, let's save and see if we have it. If our footer has that, let me refresh. So you can see it's still the same color. To confirm, If it is right, let me update the color from here. So the idea is you don't, with that, I only change my color in one place. So I don't have to be going through my code and be changing, oh, this is blue, like to be changing anywhere there is blue. So I change my color one place. And so if I want to change this from blue to black, let me save. So, and refresh. Did you see? So I have it change one place. So I don't have to repeat myself all over, like over and over again. So please, so I guess we just learned something else, how to use CSS variables. Don't repeat yourself. And you can apply that to every other style like flex. And once you see a particular pattern repeating itself, please use CSS variables. So it's a good approach. I think with this few points of mine, so I think I will leave it to you guys. We can have BG white, which I will not do that. So I don't want to take out the learning from you guys, but I think at this point I rest my case. Let me refresh. And then we have our Bala Blue. Any question?
I wanted to ask something with the CSS code. The picking out the divs and the classes. I don't know. They are a bit confusing to me.
The classes.
Like how you, yes, like to pick out the classes when you are trying to work on the CSS part of them. Like this banner now, you have banner H1, align center. Abi? Yeah. So like for him, like this main section where you have main, then you have main content and all that. So I don't know the whole idea behind that.
Okay. Okay, cool. Why I called it main is this. When you look at our design, so this is the navigation part, which is the
Okay.
nav bar. So it only makes sense for us to give it a name that relates to what we are seeing and what we are trying to achieve. This is like
All right.
session, which like is just display like an image to add to the build. So we just call it like banner, like just display, oh, web design. So for us to see. So this is the main section where there are a lot of content. So the idea of giving it a class code name is just to try to relate to what we are solving for, like what the image is doing, like what the display, sorry, what we are seeing, what the design is telling us. So this is like the main section, and that is why we name it main. So if there's another, and it's just like a common practice where like we name we name CSS classes based on what we are seeing, what we are trying to achieve. So this is like the main section. If like there's a sidebar, like by the side, you'll see sidebar also, like aside. Like this was footer, because this is actually the footer. So that is the idea. So for this one, we named it main. So you can name it anything. I can decide to name it. What's your name? Tosin. So I can say Tosin. Please don't do this professionally. I'm just for the sake of illustration. So Tosin, I can say, oh,
Yeah, sure.
content, sorry, Tosin content, and I'll come here and update everywhere there's main. I replace with Tosin. Trust me, it's going to work. You understand? So, but if
Yes.
Tosin now, and I pass this code to you, would you understand what is going on here? Like, what is Tosin? Who is Tosin? Or imagine me naming. You understand? So it doesn't convey
Yes.
what we are trying to do. And that is why the closest thing we could do is like, okay, this is the main, I can even name it main section, which work. So if maybe main section conveys the minimum, I will just like main content, like it's just, this is, trust me, when you're working on a large project and you try to figure out name for it, like it's pretty difficult. So, but for a start, like this work. So for me to, I need to update all of this now to main content. So let's make this. So everywhere there's main, I'll use command. Oh shit, sorry. So let me do this. Control V. So I'm changing the main to main section. Control D, Control V. And then when I save my HTML2 and then refresh. So it still works. Nothing broken. So any other question?
No.
So at least with this, our intention was normally bootcamp is supposed to be a time for rigorous learning. So like rigorous learning, trust me. I attended, I was telling Bisola one time, like I attended a boot camp, which when I was learning to code for 48 hours, like trust me, 2 days, I only slept for 1 hour, like 2 days. Like that was like, I never believed I was able to do that. Like 24 hours, I didn't sleep and I had to work because I had to demo what I was working on. So why did I say this? Bootcamp is supposed to be rigorous to stretch us, but it's understandable that okay, people have their own flexibility, and that is part of what we are solving for. So let me stop recording so that this video will not be too long.